Hello, welcome to the third episode of the Equanimity Sounds podcast. I am your host, Kyle J.E., and this is brought to you by Tranquil Road Records. I am here with the lead singer and guitarist of Fay Ray. Lead singer is Mariel Fechik, and the guitarist is Gehrmann. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'd like to start by asking about, in your band description, you guys say you have 8 moving parts. Could you tell me a little more about what that means?
Yeah, so the band kind of started as 2 separate bands that came together for a single house party one night back in, 2012?
2013.
And it was kind of decided that night that they should be a whole band, so they kind of just glommed together and became Church Booty. And at that point, there were, 10 members?
Yeah, it was a lot. It was a lot of people.
And I came on about a year later as the second vocalist. We used to have another who now has a really great solo project called Melvin Knight. So now it's kind of been this revolving cast of different horn players and that kind of thing. But we have kind of a core group of the 6 of us. Our horn players have changed over the last couple years, but it's kind of been that same core group. But yeah, there are a lot of us.
And then how does that work with lineups for shows? Do usually all 8 of you, or is it not that?
Yeah, sometimes we have 2 keyboard players actually. Sometimes one of us can't make it, so we'll have 1 keyboard sometimes, and then maybe sometimes we will have a different sax player as well. But yeah,
but our songs are pretty tightly arranged, so it's kind of everyone has very specific parts. So it's kind of a necessary thing. So sometimes if Noah can't make it, we'll have a guitar sub and that kind of thing.
Yeah, that makes sense. And you guys said the first name of your group is called Church Booty.
Yep.
And now it's Fay Ray. Could you tell me about why you guys decided to change your name?
Noah's mad at me still about this 2 years later.
No. I think it makes sense. Yeah.
Well, we started in Champaign-Urbana in the college town of U of I. And down there we were kind of a party band. We did a lot of house parties. We played at some of the local venues. And at the time, it was just something that was kind of funny, and it, made people curious. But once we moved up to Chicago, we kind of started getting weird looks from people. And
we just want to be a little bit more serious now. We're not just college kids just trying to play cover gigs and basements.
And the name Fay Ray comes from the actress Fay Ray, but with a W in front of the last name, who is the original Scream Queen of King Kong fame. I think
it's a good name. It took us a while to come up with another one. Something that can match Church Booty.
There was a lot of fighting. Involved.
A lot of. I mean, name could have been a lot worse.
But it turned out after I had come up with that my family was distantly related to her by marriage or something.
That's
so
wild.
It was meant to be.
Could you tell me a little bit about the band's writing process? Is it led by one person, or is it, I don't know, just tell me all about it.
So the writing process, it kind of, it's changed over the years. We had our sax player, Dan Hinsey. For a while there, he did the majority of the writing, but a little over a year ago, he left the group because he was moving, actually. So then over this past year, different members have kind of stepped up to the plate to kind of bring their own style of writing. And we're still kind of figuring it out a little bit. But
yeah, it's pretty collaborative, though. Noah and I have done a lot of the writing recently together, and sometimes Noah will bring in kind of a full form of something, and I'll write lyrics and melodies and maybe do some arranging. And, we kind of, we'll start with maybe a slim form, but it's pretty collaborative in terms of what becomes the final piece.
Are you the only one who writes lyrics and melodies for them?
Mostly, yes. I've been kind of protective of that.
I'm trying to contribute more lately with lyrical ideas and stuff like that.
I write poetry as well. I do a lot of creative writing, so for me it's kind of an extension of that. And because I'm also the only person not playing an instrument on stage, I kind of like to have, that as an ownership over that. I play instruments, but I've never played one in this band, so it's kind of I like that to be my piece. Noah's glaring at me.
are you the one who then decides what like the song's about or like meaning behind the songs, or is that collaborative as well?
That generally comes a lot for me as well. Sometimes, like the same with my other writing. I'll start writing something without really an idea of what it's going to be about, and then it comes to be something. Or I have, tried to challenge myself by starting with a concept and writing around it, which can actually be a little more challenging a lot of the times. Because it's, you're trying to fit a story, and it's, I've tried to sometimes not make stuff so personal, because then it can be kind of an interesting experiment to basically write a story.
That's really interesting.
It's okay. Should we start the whole interview over?
Do you guys have other jobs as well, like apart from being a musician?
Yeah, so I am currently working at a library, and I'm in a graduate program for Masters of Library and Information Science. So I'm trying to be a teen librarian. But I have worked several different things. I've worked for an educational nonprofit. I used to teach. So I've kind of always towed the line between an educational path and then music as well. And a lot of our other members have full-time jobs as well. Mm-hmm. We have a lot of software developer people.
Yeah, we got a lot of really smart, brainy people in our band, which is cool. I personally, I work part-time teaching at School of Rock and also part-time security at Lincoln Hall. Shout out Lincoln Hall. And then I just teach private guitar lessons as well. And yeah.
You guys find it hard to balance like being in a band as well as like having full-time jobs?
Yes.
I think it gets hard sometimes, especially when we want to talk about things like touring and things, that definitely, it's something that comes up.
And especially when we have so many people, it can be really difficult to coordinate. I mean, I've often described it to people as being like herding cats, trying to get like just a band photo shoot or something like that. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, I find it a little overwhelming. I started my grad program this year, so I'm working full time in the suburbs. I've been living at home still. I do school in the evenings. We have rehearsal in the evenings. We play. There's, but I'm also one of those people that's always thrived on stress. So I don't know what I would do without it.
Do you find like being that busy like helps the band like keep momentum, or like maybe slows your progress because you're all focused on other things as well?
I think it can really depend. What would you say, Noah?
I don't know. That's a really good question. That's a really good question. I don't know. I have to think about that one. Yeah, I think it helps. I think it's. I'd rather be really busy than really not busy.
Yeah,
personally.
Sitting around and doing nothing makes me depressed.
Yeah, exactly.
Same.
But I mean, yeah, like it can be difficult, obviously, but it's we're all pretty motivated people, just in general in our lives. So I think that's we all bring a lot of energy to it, even when we're exhausted at the end of a work day or something.
Yeah.
I thought of the question I had.
Oh wait, no.
I start to think of something too. It's like, oh, this would be really cool, and then I just look at the dog. It's like that dog is cooler than what I was gonna say.
Something I was really impressed with when I listened to your music was how well the meaning of the song goes well with like the music. Like it seemed like the instruments were telling the exact same story, like in the same way that the lyrics were. And you said that you like write lyrics to other people's like song ideas. Could you tell me about how you can make it so cohesive?
Oh, well, thank you for saying that. I hope that comes across. Yeah, that's a good question. I guess it kind of depends. I mean, we used to, I think, write a lot more stuff that was very groove based and just like super funky and like very fun. And it was harder to kind of pinpoint a mood of a song. But lately, Noah and I have a lot of similar tastes and sensibilities when it comes to writing styles and just musicians that we like. So I think we kind of are in sync in certain ways. So sometimes, for example, one of our new songs, Restless Sleeper, when he initially brought it in, it was going to be a lot more up-tempo. It was going to be a little, harder hitting. But there was something like in the chord progression and the guitar line that he'd written that just kind of said something very calm and kind of tranquil to me. So it wound up being about this concept of watching someone you love have nightmares and kind of be like, out of control of themselves in their sleep. And I'm going to sound like a crazy person, but I think I sometimes have some weird synesthesia going on with music where it's like, I don't see colors, but I have very strong associations with certain things. So it just kind of is something that, I don't know, comes into my head, and that's what ends up coming out.
That's fascinating. Mentioned you had song Restless Sleeper that also came out as like a double single release with Up and Away, so everyone should go check that out. It's a great listen, and Fay Ray also has a show on September 28th at the Tonic Room, so I just want to make sure I mention that. You guys mentioned that you both like bring ideas into the band. What kind of environment do you like to write in or create in?
Okay, so yeah, I'll take that one. Okay, what environment do I like to create in?
Could be more than one.
So I get inspired a lot when I just when I go for walks. That's kind of what I like to do. But then I don't know. Sometimes I just get inspired by like random things. But yeah, I don't know. I kind of have been like working on like making my room into a nice little studio and stuff, and try and get like more inspired there and stuff too. But yeah, I don't know. It can just be like random things sometimes. Sometimes I'll just like listen to an album or like a song, and then all of a sudden I just like get an idea, and it's like, I don't know.
Yeah. I'm not very disciplined in my creativity. It kind of comes to me in random moments, usually when it's inconvenient. But I find a lot of time when I'm driving, because I spend so much time driving, that I often will come up with song ideas in the car, and then I record it into my voice memos while I'm driving, so all you can hear is the highway noise instead of the actual melody I've come up with. Or there have been times where I am falling asleep and I suddenly have a melody idea, and then I wake up and again try to record something into my voice memos, and I wake up and I say, what the fuck is this?
I definitely also have a bunch of voice memos of me trying to articulate ideas and stuff. It's always great when Mariel sends me a voice memo, because she's got a great voice, obviously, and I can always like hear something really musical. But then whenever I listen back to mine, it's just like me like trying to like hit notes and stuff, and it's just pathetic. So, yeah.
That's why we're a good team.
Right. Love voice notes though. Shout out voice notes.
And do you guys have anything you're like working up towards as a band right now, or like any projects you're working on?
Yeah, we
Cat almost knocked over the mic there.
So we've been trying to start writing more. So back when we were still Church Booty, we put out an album, and then when we had the name change, it was kind of a fresh start in a way. So we called our No Love EP our debut, because it was in a lot of ways a different band. So now we've been trying to kind of write and build up towards an album, which, can also be hard to do when we've all got such busy lives, but that's our goal.
Yeah, one day we'll have an album. We don't know when, but yeah, we're still just trying to write more. Lately, we've got some new songs coming out. Yeah, so someday, hopefully next year. I don't know.
It's also been kind of a process trying to work towards a more unified aesthetic.
Right.
And our sound has changed a lot, I think, over the course of the last few years. Even between the No Love EP and this double single, that one was recorded at Audio Tree Studios with engineer Brock Mende. And that was a lot more of an organic, I mean, it wasn't quite live, but, it was, I guess, much more like straight ahead. And with this, our keyboard player, Joe Meland, is actually a really great producer. And so he wanted to add a bit more of a production element to these. So he didn't actually record anything in the studio with us. He did everything in post, like all of his synth stuff, and then he did all the production. So even moving towards that sound has been kind of a process as well.
So you guys mentioned you both have other jobs, but I wanted to ask how big of like being a musician, like how big is that to your identity as a human being?
I wasn't sure if you were done. I mean, for me, it's literally everything. I have my career path, obviously, and I love it, and I'm very excited about it, and I am very serious about my writing and stuff. But I started piano lessons when I was 5, and I loved to sing before that, and music is my whole life, really. And I mean that.
Yeah, it's kind of. Wait, what was the question one more time? How big of it is? How does it affect my perception of myself?
I mean, you can answer that question too.
It's funny. I think that's a good question. And for a long time in my life, I kind of just didn't even really think of myself as a musician. I just thought of like a guy, like I like to play guitar kind of. And then like over the years, it kind of more and more was like, became like part of my identity and stuff like that. But yeah, there are days I just wonder like where I would be if I didn't, because, it's always just great. If you're having a shitty day, just plug in and, shred.
I mean, and you were a music major. I was not. I almost majored in percussion performance, actually, and then I was talked out of that one. But, even though I didn't major in it, Noah and I were in the jazz program together at U of I with most of the rest of our band, and, it's something that I've been fortunate enough to, maintain, engagement with over the years. And yeah, I mean, I'm like known in my like other group of friends that aren't musicians as like the music person. I'm constantly like, listen to this, listen to this, listen to this. And like,
Music person.
Do you think pursuing music and whatever, like, however much you are pursuing music right now, how do you think that impacts your well-being?
I mean, it's definitely, at least for me, it's like it really helps with my mental health. If I'm like having, a weird time or a weird day, like, I don't know, like singing just makes me feel better. It always has. Or just like sitting down to like play some old song that I, used to love in middle school or something. And yeah, I mean, it's just like, it's been such a constant for me that it's hard to think of what it would be like without it. Like we were just saying.
Yeah. Music is definitely, it really like helps my well-being. But then at the same time, there are some days where it's like, I've invested so much of my life into music, and then sometimes when you like get in a rut and you just feel like the ideas aren't coming out, you can just feel like so bad too sometimes. But
yeah, I get the same thing with creative writing, where sometimes like I haven't written something in a long time and I'm like, am I still a writer?
Right, exactly. I'm a fraud. So
it's like kind of therapy when it's like the creativeness is coming out, but when it's not, then it's just like
right.
It's kind of like, I don't know.
I mean,
it's on you.
You can definitely like just like paint like the picture of like, just doing music all the time is like something like so magical, and it is, but at the same time, like those days, like you'll definitely have those bad days and stuff, and it can be rough. So I don't know.
But every musician has had those, so
yeah.
It's just part of being like creating. Like you can't always create something amazing each time, and it's like part of just like practicing being creative. Like some days you try something and it doesn't work.
It was funny. I read an interview with David Crosby recently, who he had just put out this album last year with Becca Stevens and Michael League and Michelle Willis, and
it's a good album.
It's a great album. I wrote about it recently at the magazine that I write for, and he retweeted it, and I like lost my goddamn mind.
So cool.
But I read this interview with him in Rolling Stone, and he was kind of saying that it's like it's not that my peers are lazy or not putting out music, but it's just now is the time in my life when I'm having all of these ideas all of a sudden. He's in his 70s and he's still like really prolific and writing really inventive new stuff. So, creativity comes when it comes.
It definitely just is what it is. I guess you can't really get down on yourself if you're not creating anything, because you just do it because you want to and it feels good. And sometimes it can't always just happen.
Yeah.
All right, here's a big question for you guys. Do you think that you pursuing music helps make the world a better place, or just like performing music or releasing music, just like all of it?
Yes.
Can you elaborate?
I mean, you don't need to.
I mean, I think, you can do music that like raises awareness for like causes and things like that, and it makes people happier. It's like there are a bunch of great things about it. I want to get like at some point maybe to get our music so that's like really heard by people, and then at that point we can, I don't know, or, like Emily does like some great stuff. Like I feel like with her music she tries to like make the world a better place. Like she does all these like,
Yeah, I mean,
benefits and
after
stuff
the
like
Las
that.
Vegas gun thing, the Chicago artist Emily Blue is one of our friends. And yeah, she did like a charity fundraiser thing with a song for that. But yeah, I mean, I think even on like a more basic level, it's no matter how little your music is heard, I think, there's music that you never know what's healing for who. And, even if you write the most like loud garage rock ever, that might be somebody's thing that's going to help them through something. And so, maybe it's not making a difference in some like huge concrete way, but, I like to think that by like offering something out into the world and somebody's receiving it and maybe it makes their day a little better, like, small waves.
Yeah, I love it. Even if it just makes you feel better, to me, that's like making the world a better place. If you're making yourself happy, then you're becoming you're just in a better place and more able to help others.
Yeah. And I think live music is like some of the happiest times. So people come there to just be happy. So,
Does thinking about what kind of music people want to hear, or if like your music will be popular, does that ever like seep into your thoughts with like during the writing process or when you're writing songs or releasing music? Does that like ever impact what you're trying to create?
I feel like, yeah. I generally, me personally, I kind of want to make music that like people, like that the general public will want to listen to and stuff. I don't want to make like top 40s pop music and stuff, but I generally, I try to like keep an ear to the ground and hear like, what's hip, like what people like and stuff. I definitely have some friends who like make music and it's like, they're like, oh, I don't really care what people think about it. Like I love it, and I'm just like, that's the point and stuff. And I think that's cool. I think with Fay Ray, that like my thinking is that it's it's for people to like have fun and like dance to, but then also like have elements of like jazz and stuff. So I don't know. What do you think, Mariel?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's also really easy to get caught up in, the idea of like branding or an aesthetic or, some kind of ideal that you're trying to achieve. And then that can almost make your music kind of stilted in a way because you're trying so hard to make it sound like a certain thing. Like we've definitely gotten caught up in that where, I'll have listened to some like Hiatus Coyote thing or Neo and I'm like, I want to do that little eighth note there. Like I want to do that thing. And it's like, it kind of like fucks up our flow of like what we're doing. And, it's like,
yeah, you can't compare yourself to people too much, like it's good to like take inspiration and stuff, but yeah, sometimes I don't know. So yeah, we're figuring it out.
It's easy to get lost in like, ooh, I really like them. I want to be like that, but then you're not that.
Right. I want to talk about these cats. These cats are awesome.
Yeah, I think kind of in line with that too. Noah, you were just saying, we want to make music for people to have fun to and to dance to or whatever. And I think I've always, we can have different ideals too, but I think I've always striven to, is that a word?
Strove.
English major. To find a happy medium between, not to pull out Hiatus Coyote again, but, I've always admired Napalm's writing because, they're making this like super like funky, cool music that is like so sonically interesting. But like her lyrics are, they're deep. They're really, it's like not just, music that doesn't.
It's not, ooh, baby, I love you. Sorry.
Don't insult Smokey Robinson.
Oh, yeah. Unintentional, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, for me, that's kind of something that I, strive to to get into. Because like I said, I come from it too, from like a poetry background. And I think, with that, it's so completely focused on language. So I kind of want it to be in that place where, you can pay attention to the lyrics or not, but if you do, there's something of substance there.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, I love it, and I can see it in your music.
What other hobbies and distractions do you have to keep you sane and make you happy outside of music?
Is that for me?
Yeah, for you. I'm curious about your band. I want to talk about Hot Planet and stuff too.
Well, to keep myself sane, I try to do yoga every day, and that helps a lot. Like with my body feeling good, and I realize that like when my body doesn't feel good, my mind doesn't feel good. So just like trying to be aware of that connection. And I also started therapy recently, and that has been great for me.
Therapy is the best thing. Everyone should see a therapist. PSA, everybody.
Yes.
Go to a therapist.
100% agree. And I don't know. I don't really think I stay very sane, but I'm trying. Those are two main things. I'm also dealing with like, I don't want to make this about me, but like I'm dealing with like hand injuries with my pinkies, tendonitis, and that's been a real struggle.
Wow.
Having to not play. So it's like trying to create a balance when that like the balance I'd like to have is playing a lot of music, but when I can't do that, I have to create a new balance. So trying to be happy while doing that.
Yeah. I've always been told with like with poetry, if you can't write, read. And like you'll always find something. So I mean, when I'm like, losing my mind or getting really frustrated over some song I've been trying to write for a year and can't finish, I listen to, Stevie, or I go read a book, and like that's, kind of gives me an escape that kind of also gives me a path back into doing productive music things.
Right.
I love it. That actually like really kind of like reflects on an experience I had. Like when I first developed tendonitis, I like listened to a lot of music, and like looking back on it, a lot of the stuff I listened to a lot of like ended up influencing my style that I have right now.
Mm-hmm.
That's really cool. Never thought of it that way. But yeah, I'm also in a band called Hot Planet, and also a band called Sundog. Yeah, Hot Planet plays funk music. Sundog plays surf rock music. We're both pretty cool. But
any gigs coming up?
Hot Planet has a gig at the Owl on August 22nd. It's a free show. Y'all should come. Yeah, just thank you so much for joining me today. I love talking.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah.
Love talking with you guys. Provided a lot of insight, and I appreciate it. So yeah, everyone check out Fay Ray. Thank you so much. Peace.